Black history. What exactly is Black history? Is Black history civil rights and slavery and segregation? When I think of history, I don't just think of the past. I think of the past, the present, and the future. And I know that may seem strange to you because when you probably think of history, you think of what you learn in your history books, what you learn in history class, American history, world history. It's all in the past, but it's never about the future. But let me tell you right now, history is being made right now, and history will be made in the future. What will happen 50 years from now will one day be considered a part of history. So, for my Black History Month display that I made for art class, I decided to reflect on my thoughts that Black history isn't just the past. It's not just about segregation and slavery and civil rights and the fight for justice. Black history isn't just about fighting for equal rights. Black history is about what happens in our daily lives. So I wanted to showcase people who influence a lot of us, people who have changed our lives, people who a lot of us have looked up to, whether you're Black or whether you're not, people that have changed the world or that have changed America in small ways or in huge ways. So a lot of people get mad when for Black History Month people only focus on entertainers or actors or athletes, because Black people aren't just entertainers, actors, or athletes. And a lot of individuals who are Black grow up thinking that's what I should be, that's what I could be good at, not necessarily thinking, oh, they could be an astronaut or a politician or something else, or a lawyer or a doctor. But that's not why I decided to focus on a lot of entertainers, actors, and athletes. I decided to focus on these people because being an athlete is a huge responsibility. It's a huge thing. Being an athlete is amazing. You have all of these young kids in elementary, middle, and high school and college looking up to you, looking at your platform, looking at your social media every day, watching your interviews, watching your games. They want to be like you, and you're influencing them. That's amazing. People like Stephen Curry, LeBron James, even people who aren't American. I'm saying they're not American because it's African American History Month, but Usain Bolt, people like Flojo, Florence, Griffith, Joyner, the fastest woman to ever walk on this planet. So many athletes, Odell Beckham Jr. They've changed our world, even in small ways. Kobe Bryant. So many young kids look up to them and have looked up to them, even after their deaths, like Kobe Bryant. Michael Jordan, who's still alive today. So, actors and actresses like Viola Davis, Halle Berry, singers Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey. My mind is going blank right now, but there's just so many people, Rihanna, different people that people look up to. And whether they're influential in a good way or in a bad way, people are looking up to them and they're making history. So when you look at my display, I don't want you to judge in the sense that, oh, this person had this scandal here, or this person had this scandal here, or they did this, or they did that, or they support this and they support that. That's not what I wanted to make my display about. I didn't want to make it about my political opinions or about what I thought about the world or what I think about the world. I wanted to make it about who is influencing our youth, who are influencing the future, and who have influenced the youth of the past and people in past generations. So when I decided to make my display, I wanted to focus on this aspect. So I'm going to be explaining to you my art pieces, the processes that I use to make them, my pieces, the materials that I use, and I also want to explain why I chose these people, because I wanted to focus on Black History Month, the past, the present, and the future. I also want to point out that I didn't try and draw many people that weren't very famous or that many people didn't know, because even though they may have been influential, if you're not familiar with their face or aren't familiar with who they are, you're not necessarily going to stop by and look and see and try and figure out who that is, or you're not going to look at a huge paragraph to try and figure out who that person is, because you're trying to get to your next class. You have 4 minutes to get to your next class, or even if you're a teacher walking through the hallway, you don't want to just stop and look at somebody who you've never seen before. So that's why I also tried to focus on people that were very relevant and that many people knew, so that they could resonate with the art piece instead of looking at the artwork and saying, who is that? Why should I be looking at this? So that's also another thing that I had in my mind while making these pieces. So I did these portraits a while ago. I did the first one maybe 2.5 years ago, and the other one I did about 6 months ago. And I just wanted to add these to show who did this display. And I like the way that they turned out. I think they look like me, so yeah. So this first drawing I did is of Zendaya Coleman. She is a proclaimed actress who started off on the Disney Channel, or at least she became famous on the Disney Channel on a show called Shake It Up, and had her own featured Disney Channel show called Casey Undercover, where she played a spy. A lot of young American girls and girls around the world look up to her. She is half black, half white, and she's just so beautiful. I did this piece about 2 years ago, so it was not originally supposed to be a part of my Black History Month display, but I decided to add it because I just thought it looked so beautiful. And Zendaya, she's a huge role model. It doesn't exactly look like her. I based this off of a photograph, and it looks very similar to the photograph, except I added a galaxy background in the background. So it's just a beautiful photo, and it was a fantastic photo shoot. And Zendaya is an amazing role model. She just won an award for, I think she was the youngest actress to win Best Actress for a drama for the Academy Awards, I believe. I will be fact checking that. So she has definitely made history. Just being on the Disney Channel is a huge accomplishment. I was wanting to do Raven-Symoné as well, but I did not have time. Raven-Symoné from the show That's So Raven and Now Raven's Home. And I just love the gold in this picture and the blues, and I loved adding the galaxy and all the stars, and it was just so cool to use marker and colored pencil. And then this next picture is of Meghan Markle, who is the Duchess of Sussex, and she's married to Prince Harry. And it was a huge thing for this half black, half white woman, this biracial woman, to be married to a prince of England, the royal family. When you say the royal family, people automatically think England. They don't think France. They don't think Spain. They don't think Turkey. They think of England. And for her to marry into that family is huge. To be an American celebrity, she's an actress. And she's also very vocal about her opinions, from what I hear, she and her husband. And I use scratch note paper, the paper that you use when you're a little kid. I got some for my birthday, and because I really liked it, and I cut it out and I glued it and shaped it around her face, and that took hours, maybe around 7 hours to do. And it was just so fun, so crafty. I'm not very crafty, so it was a cool experience to do and not something that I was used to. I colored this drawing with colored pencils, and I just did her because she's a huge role model. She's the actual dream that most girls have, is becoming a princess, and this came true for her. That's just what I think about. Meghan Markle actually became a princess, and I know that's not what you should look up to her for. You should look up to her because of her influence and because of the good things that she does for the world. And that's pretty much all I have to say about this piece. It doesn't look as much like her as I would have liked it to. This next drawing is of Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was, of course, an American basketball player. I think he was born in Italy, but he's still American. His father played professional basketball as well, and Kobe Bryant, he just made a lot of historical accomplishments. I used tempera paint for the background, and I tried to create a jewel type effect. I forget what the type of jewel is called, but I chose a picture of him young, wearing his jersey, because I just wanted to show him in his youth, because it's just a cool picture and kind of funny to see him when he was younger, when he had hair. So he died in a helicopter crash about a year ago with his daughter Tiana Bryant, who was 13. He died when he was 41, I believe, and he left behind a 1-year-old child, a child who may not have even been one actually, and his older daughter. Sorry, I can't speak English, and his wife. And he just seeing how hurt people were when Kobe Bryant died was the reason that I drew him, because he was just so influential to people. From what I hear, he was the youngest player to ever start an NBA game at 18 years old. He was in a lot of all-star games and has won a lot of accolades and awards. And he's just a huge role model. A lot of little kids grow up, or young kids, college kids grow up, and they want to be like Kobe Bryant. They want to be in the NBA. they want to have the skills that he had. So it was just amazing to see the huge impact that he had on the world, while it was very sad to see that he died tragically in general. And this picture is, of course, this picture edited into black and white, edited in black and white. And you can just see the values here, and I think I did a good job on the values for almost all of these pictures, if not all of them. And I'm not trying to brag or be is it not humble? Not be humble. I'm not trying to say anything like that. But it's just very hard to get values right. And if you switch your drawing to black and white, it should still look right. It should look good. And the values should be correct and should be accurate. And I think the values are pretty accurate on the drawings that I made. So I chose to edit it in black and white. This is not a part of my display, but I'm just showing you what it looks like because I think it looks cool. So this next drawing is, of course, of the Spider-Man Miles Morales. I completely forgot the name of the movie, Into the Spider-Verse. I almost said Spectacular Spider-Man, but his suit is just so cool. He has the powers of invisibility and, of course, the regular spider powers. I chose to do a pastel look for this painting. This painting I used paint markers, because paint markers you can't really blend, so I just chose crazy kind of pastel colors that look nice, and I did the cool stars and planned where I was going to put the stars, and I tried to make it look cool but not too crazy to still make him look like a human being, even though the colors are strange. But he's huge. Spider-Man is a huge character, and to see black Spider-Man, he's half Afro-Latino and half Black American, and just to see that type of character on screen is amazing. And in the comics, because you don't really see Afro-Latinos represented a lot, I tried to represent some Afro-Latinos in my display, but Miles Morales ended up being the only one that I could fit time in for, because I didn't have time to do any other pieces. I could have done Roberto Clemente or other people. But yeah, he's just so cool, and all the kids and all the teenagers, they love Miles Morales, and they all know who he is. So he's only existed for a few years, and so many people know who he is, and that's rare for superheroes. So that's why I did Miles Morales. And this next picture is, of course, of Florence Griffith Joyner, who was the fastest woman of all time. She died in her 30s of health complications, and she was the fastest woman ever. She's the fastest woman currently to ever run the 100-meter dash and the 200-meter dash, and she was known for her crazy long nails. Just imagine her putting her hands on the track and getting on her starting blocks and starting. Her nails were very long and crazy and colorful, and her suit, she was known for this this crazy colorful suit with one leg that was super long, pant leg that was super long, and the other half there was no pant leg. It was just like a regular tracksuit for women. And even Beyonce recreated this look, I believe, for Halloween. And FloJo, she was just so inspirational. The fastest woman in America and the fastest woman of all time in recorded human history, which is fantastic. I did not do Usain Bolt for this African American History Month, Black History Month display, because Usain Bolt is, of course, Jamaican. He's not American. So I chose not to do that. And also, I didn't want to do people who, like, maybe they got American citizenship after, because I don't know if that would fit into the Black History Month concept. I wasn't sure. So, yeah. FloJo, I just like the way that I did the hands. It looks super realistic, and I was super surprised, and I like the look on her face. She just looks like she has something to say. She's been through a lot and has had a long career. So this next picture is of Halle Berry. Halle Berry as Storm, although a lot of people weren't really a fan of the way she played Storm in the X-Men, and she's known for her cheesy line, "What happens to a frog that gets struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else." And she's just known for that cheesy line in the X-Men film. But Storm has the powers of the weather. She can create lightning and snow, and she can cause it to rain. She could cause so many things happen with the weather. And she's African, which is amazing. There's not many African superheroes. There's not many black superheroes as a whole, but there's not many African superheroes. And it's cool that she's African and that you could see her tribal roots. And I'm pretty sure she was born at least she lived in Africa for a time. I don't know if she was born and raised there, but I'm African, at least part African, and it was cool to see that. And Halle Berry, she's the first black actress to win Best Actress for an Academy Award, and that's huge as well. So I thought it'd be cool to do Halle Berry as Storm, a huge black superhero and a huge actress in the sense that Halle Berry is an amazing actress. Yeah, she's a huge actress in the sense that she's fantastic and has been in so many cool movies. Yeah. So this next picture is also of Halle Berry, just in black and white. Halle Berry was in this movie that I grew up watching called Baps. It was a huge flop, but it was super funny. And she was in a movie I watched called Kidnapped, I think. And in a movie I like called Catwoman, which also did not do well, and people did not like that movie. But she's a fantastic actress, don't get me wrong. But I love Catwoman, and I love Babs, so it's okay. It doesn't matter what other people think or what critics think. I like Catwoman. And so she's played 2 superheroes that I know of, which is also really cool. I just love Storm's white hair, and when she uses her powers, her eyes become white. Become completely white, so that you can't see her pupils or anything, and it's just super, super cool. I've drawn Storm so many times. This is my second realistic portrait of Storm. She was also played by Alexandra Shipp as a younger version of Storm in the X-Men franchise, but I have drawn a lot of cartoony versions of Storm, my interpretation. So, yeah. This next image is of Martin Luther King Jr. Not Martin Luther, but Martin Luther King Jr. Don't get them confused. You're 2 completely different people. I chose to use my Inktense pencils, which I did a review of on my channel. Go check that out. Go check out that video. For the background, and I did use water for the background. Then I overlaid the water with pencils again. So this is a very realistic portrait in my opinion. A lot of people really liked it when I posted it on Instagram. I liked the shadow, and I designed the suit because the suit was, I think, just regular. It had some brown shadows because of the lighting, but it was a black suit. And I just added these stripes and made it pink and orange and yellow and red, and I just thought that looked cool, purple. And Martin Luther King, he was just a huge role model because he did so much for the African American community, for his fight for civil rights, and he just wrote some amazing literature. His letter to Birmingham jail, we read that in school, and it was just an amazing letter. And just, he was so poetic, and he used biblical references, which resonated with a lot of the American population. So I just thought that was really, really cool. And there's a movie about at least the fight for civil rights. I don't know if it's all of it is about his life, but a movie called Selma. So you should go check that out. I never finished watching it, but from what I could see, it looked like a pretty good film. So look up some things about Martin Luther King's life. Most people know who he is, at least most people in the United States. So this next picture is of Princess Tiana. And Princess Tiana is the first black Disney princess, excluding Brandy, because Brandy is the first black Disney princess, but she's a live-action princess. Brandy played Cinderella in the live-action version of Cinderella. But Princess Tiana is the first African-American princess for an animated Disney film, and Disney is the biggest animation company in the world, the biggest film company in the world, the most successful film company in the world, with the most successful theme park, with an amazing creator of the company, Walt Disney. So just to see an African-American princess finally was just so amazing, and she was hardworking, didn't wait on anyone to do something for her. She did everything that she wanted to do on her own. She didn't wait around for people to do things for her, and that was amazing. And just, she has a pretty dress and was beautiful, and I just decided to draw Princess Tiana because even though she didn't exist, she has impacted a lot of people's lives. So I used paint markers to do this drawing, which is why you see that I did not mix anything. I just did different layers of color separately almost, and I love the stars in this picture. So this next drawing is of Chadwick Boseman, who unfortunately passed away last year. And I changed the colors of his shirt and his suit because I wanted to be more vibrant, because it seemed to fit his personality and very colorful, and just seemed like he was really nice. And he died of cancer I don't know if his directors knew or if his friends knew, but the American public and the world, we didn't know that he had cancer and he died, and we were just all surprised. And so that's why I drew Chadwick Boseman, because he played the Black Panther, the most famous black superhero of all time, with the most famous black movie of all time now, the most famous black superhero movie of all time, and it was just a huge movie. And with almost an all-black cast, with an African superheroes, African characters. Africa is usually portrayed as just very poor, or sometimes even in a negative light. And it was just cool to see a futuristic African society where people were doing well, and where you could still see the tribal roots, and they were so respected despite their tribal roots, because a lot of people look down on tribal peoples when we're all tribal. Even in Europe, they had clans and tribes. Every place has had tribes except for the modern world. So that was just cool to see him play the Black Panther, who resonates with so many of us. So that's why I did Chadwick Boseman. I use markers to do the base for the colors, and I use colored pencils to layer it on. So this next picture is of Kamala Harris, not to get political, but because she's now the first female vice president, the first female in the president vice president team, and the first person in the White House of Asian descent and of Indian descent. So she's just broken a lot of barriers for women in politics, for women in the White House, and for women as a whole in our country. It just shows how far we've come as a country, that a woman can be in the White House, when that would not have even been something that anybody would have thought about. Same thing with that a black person could be in the White House. Nobody would have thought that would have been possible. So I like the highlights that I did. I exaggerated the highlights on the hair because I just love doing highlights and stars and everything. I chose to do a black and white portrait because black and white portraits can be so stunning, and I like the pearls that she had on. So of course this is not meant to be a political video or anything like that. I just drew her because of her influence. All political opinions aside, and I ask that you guys please comment your political opinions about her, whether you love her or hate her. Frankly, I don't care. Not to be rude, of course. And there's some other black politicians that I could have drawn too, but I did not have time. So this next picture is my favorite. It is of Mariah Carey. She loves to do the British accent. So she's my favorite singer of all time. The artist with the most the solo artist with the most #1 hits. She has had 19 #1 hits on the Billboard, because All I Want for Christmas Is You hit #1 in 2019 and in 2020 again. I think she's the first solo artist to have a #1 hit span 4 decades. So it was created in or 3 decades maybe, because it was created in the 90s and it is now the 2020s. So actually 4 decades, yeah. So she has just had some amazing albums, and she's known for her high register. She is listed as a Songbird Supreme in the Guinness Book of World Records, I believe. And she just has so many accomplishments and was so influential in the 90s and is still influential today, especially during Christmas time. But she's, of course, biracial. She's half white, half black. Her father was Afro-Venezuelan and African-American. So I did showcase another black Hispanic. And even though visually you look at her, you may not think, oh, she's African American, she still has African American heritage, and she's still black. So that's important for you to realize that that a century ago, 2 centuries ago, Mariah Carey would have only been looked at as black. Doesn't matter that she's only half black. If you were 1/32 black, you were full black, basically. That was who you were. And that's what you were stamped as. You could be a slave. You could be discriminated against like all other black people because you had 1/32 of you was black. So that's like 8 generations back. So this is a picture of her in black and white. And she also always talks about her struggles with being biracial and feeling like she didn't fit in. And when her hair is curly, you can tell more. You can see more her African features more. And I was going to do a curly picture, but I wanted to do her hair straight because I thought it doesn't matter how you do your hair or how you style yourself, she still has black heritage and she's still half black. So that's why I chose to do her. And a lot of the people I drew ended up being mixed. That wasn't purposeful, it's just that's how it happened to be. So yeah, this print and the last drawing are available for sale on my Etsy shop. So is my Chadwick, so is my Martin Luther King, and so is my Kobe Bryant. I'm thinking about putting out my storm, but I'm not sure if there's going to be a high enough demand for that. So this last drawing, it doesn't have the best lighting, but it's the Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. The show had a cast of all black main characters, and it was basically the first time when there was a black cartoon where the characters were not portrayed in a negative stereotypical light. So that's why I drew Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. I drew the diamonds because I just thought it showed the colors colorful and funny personalities. And I grew up watching Fat Albert. I remember in 6th grade before school I would watch it sometimes on Bounce TV, a black entertainment television channel, not BET but Bounce TV. And I would just watch so many cool shows like the Hughleys. Well, that one was kind of appropriate. The Bernie Mac show, The Parenthood. I'd watch a whole bunch of black movies on there, and that's how I was exposed to a lot of black film on there. And this is why I did the Cosby Kids, because it was Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, because it was an important barrier that was broken in African American television, to see African American animated characters portrayed in a very positive light. So that's pretty much it for my Black History Month display. That's it for this voiceover, and I just really enjoyed talking about these pieces, but stay tuned because there's more for this video. What's the point of Black History Month? So the way that I view Black History Month as why there's still a need for it is to showcase that so many years ago, many decades ago, maybe 7-8 decades ago, even hundreds of years ago, black people would not have been able to accomplish these things that they accomplished because of their quote-unquote race, because of their ethnicities, because of where their ancestors came from. They were seen as less than human, and they were viewed in a very negative light. So they weren't allowed to win awards. Even if they were allowed to win awards, they wouldn't win awards, because who would choose a black person to win an award, even if they deserved it? So it's just amazing. Like, if you think of Jackie Robinson, who couldn't play in the MLB, I almost said the NFL. Was it the MLB back then? I think it was still the MLB. But he wasn't allowed to play professional baseball, and when he just faced so much discrimination. So Black History Month just shows how much we've accomplished, how much we can do now, and we just fit in with the rest of society. And even though there are a lot of changes that still need to be made and a lot of progress that needs to be made in many different areas, we fit in with the rest of society in a lot of ways, and that's just amazing. We can win awards, we can be in music videos, we can be billionaires, millionaires, we can own companies, be CEOs, we can be presidents, we can be vice presidents. And that's just amazing, because decades ago and centuries ago, we weren't allowed to do that. And we were even hundreds of years ago slaves, and just viewed as trash, and that's just so terrible. So it shows you what we don't want to go back to for any quote-unquote race or ethnic group. We don't want to treat anybody like that again. Our country, the United States, because Black History Month is in February for the United States. England and the Netherlands and a few other countries have Black History Month too, but it's not for African Americans. It's for for black people, but not African Americans specifically. It's just so sad that because of your race, because of your skin color, because of how dark you are, how light you are, you're viewed differently in different parts of the world, even in the US. Even in the modern age, it's sad that people still think like that, and people will always think like that until the earth is no more. Because human beings, we like to divide. We like to find people who are similar to us and look down on people who aren't like us. And that's just the truth, which it annoys me when people say, it's 2021. Is it 2021? Yeah, 2021, I forgot the year. It's 2021. And there's still racism. Like, yes, there's always going to be racism. There's always going to be people who hate people of other ethnicities. There's always going to be people who don't like people who are darker than them or lighter than them, who don't like people who have red hair, who don't like people who have blue eyes. There's always going to be something. There's always going to be something, because we like to divide based off our cultures, based off our languages, based off, it's always something, and it's terrible, but that's what human beings do. We are all flawed innately, and we like to hate on others. Sometimes even others that we are jealous of, other people groups that we wish we were like them. So sometimes that's why we hate on other people groups. So I encourage everyone today, after watching this video, to take a look at yourself and to not be prideful, and to say, who do I have a negative view of because of their race, because of their ethnicity, because of whatever it is that you can be discriminating on somebody for. Even maybe not in person, just maybe in your mind, you just think negatively of them. If you have someone, a doctor, come in and they're of a certain race or ethnic group, are you thinking, oh my goodness, that's what my doctor looks like? Or if you meet one of your siblings, significant others, their girlfriend or boyfriend, and they're of a certain race, do you think in your mind, oh my goodness, they're this race, they're from this country, they speak this language? And the fact is, most of you answering this, if you're being true with yourself, you could probably say yes, for a more general sense, not just for these specific examples, because it's just sad. We need to work on it individually, as a group, but more so individually. Working on realizing our prejudices, how we hate other people, why we hate other people, and dealing with it. Because we cannot improve as a society if we're not willing to improve on ourselves. Just because you post something on Twitter, just because you post something on Instagram, just because you repost something and don't check your facts, does not mean that you're not racist, does not mean that you don't have prejudices against other groups. That's why I don't necessarily like the term racism, because at the end of the day, I feel like everybody thinks racist or ethnicist, I don't know if that's the thing, colorist type of thoughts sometimes. And sometimes you may not even realize that you view a group negatively until, like I gave you the example, like the doctor that's of a certain race, and you're like, dang, my doctor's of that race. Or maybe you get mad at someone and you think in your head, that's stupid, insert slur. If that comes to your mind, you deep down inside probably don't like people of that ethnic or racial group, and you don't even realize it. And I know this conversation is really serious, and it's very disturbing for a lot of people to think, dang, I'm racist. Dang, I don't like people of this ethnicity. But just realizing it is the first step. Don't hate yourself. Or if you hear somebody else saying something negative, don't hate them and say, oh, I'm gonna cancel them, I'm not gonna talk to them anymore. Say, hey, this is wrong. You shouldn't be thinking like this. Or I think you shouldn't be thinking about this. This is a problem. And thinking like this can lead to you thinking even worse one day. And we need to fix ourselves individually before we fix ourselves together. And those are important conversations to have. Because what I realize is the closer you get to someone, you realize their prejudices, their biases. And oh, well, I'm Hispanic, I'm Puerto Rican, and those Colombians. Or I'm Colombian, and those Venezuelans. I'm black, but those Asians. Like you start to realize when you hang out with people, you start to realize what they don't like, who they don't like, and their negative thoughts of other people groups that may be based off stereotypes and may not be true. And I'm not talking about jokes, I'm talking about being serious. Because I've become close with people, and I didn't know they were like that. And then I hear them speak after a long time, after getting closer with them, and I realize, dang, I didn't know they thought like that. But the fact is, we all think like that, and we don't realize that we think like that, and that's problematic. So, I urge you to take a look at yourself right now. Even pause the video and think about, who do I not like? Think about those thoughts that you have thought in your mind. Try and fix it. Try and think, we're all the same, we're all humans, we all have DNA, we all have red blood. Unless there's some type of condition. Even if you don't have red blood, you're a human being with DNA. Doesn't matter how many chromosomes you have, if you're a human being, we are all the same. Whether you have one lung or two lungs, whether you have one kidney or two kidneys. Can you live with one lung? I don't know. But we're human beings. We all are in this together. So we need to put politics aside. We need to put race and ethnicity aside. Race doesn't even exist. It's a social construct. The people in Brazil, they don't view race the same as the people in the United States view race, and people in certain European countries don't view race the same either. So on the race category, we have black/African American. You think in England they have black/African American? That's so dumb. Of course not. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for watching this crazy video and for clicking on this. I'm so happy that you're here. I am happy that you watched this video and that you got this far, if you got this far. So make sure to like, make sure to comment, and make sure to subscribe if you want to. I'm not pressuring you to. But if you like my channel, want to see more content, then subscribe. If you like the video, I would really appreciate it if you click the like button, because that really helps with the algorithm. So thank you. I have the links for my Etsy store, for my Instagram, for my TikTok, for my website, and I think that's it. It will be down below in the description, and it should be on one of the sides of me, below, up top, I don't know. But see ya, and peace out.